All right, as I said, I got a lot of stuff to do, so this video is not going to be too horribly long. It might be a little bit shorter this week. Thursday night, Saints at the Cowboys. Yeah, I got the Saints, no matter what. The Saints are going to win that ball game. Ravens at the Falcons. I got the Ravens. Panthers at the Buccaneers. I got the Panthers. Bears at Giants. Definitely got the Bears. Bills at Dolphins. I take the Dolphins. They're playing decent enough to beat the Bills. Colts at Jaguars. I got the Colts. Browns at Texans. This is a big game. And let me explain why this is such a big game. Kansas City, they beat the Browns earlier this season. The Browns are playing hot right now. I don't think they're hot enough to beat the Texans. I'm still picking the Texans. But if the Browns win this game, that could give us the edge at the end of the season when it comes to overall records. But I definitely think Houston's going to win. Even with the Browns playing as hot as they are, they're not as experienced as Houston. Broncos at Bengals. I got the Broncos. Rams at the Lions. Definitely got the Rams. Cardinals are heading to Lambeau. I got the Packers. Chiefs are playing at the Raiders. I got the Chiefs. Last year we got knocked off when we was playing hot in Oakland. You know what? Like I said, playing the Patriots at Foxborough, we got beat that night. We got beat by a good football team. Playing the Raiders in Oakland last year, that was a referee game, dude. I remember in one instance on a flea flicker, Amari Cooper literally pushed Steven Nelson to the ground to catch that ball. No flag. Let me reiterate, since people are going ape shit, let me reiterate once again what I'm trying to say. The calls on Kansas City, I'm not saying all of them are unfair. There are calls that Kansas City committed. And there are some that were not committed that they called. But at the same time, you have to take that fairness and enforce it on the other team. You cannot sit here and tell me that Oakland got enforced the same way we did that night. You cannot sit here and tell me that they did not enforce the same penalties on the Rams. You even got Rams fans out there that are watching this shit and putting it on social media about how they're screwing Kansas City. About how they won the game and they're glad they won, but at the same time they feel like it was a poorly officiated game. It wasn't officiated fairly. Would that have hinged our chances to win? Damn it, dog. Get out of there. Get out of there. Getting wrapped around the phone charger. Big head. Anyways, you gotta cut the cake down the middle. It's got to be a fairly officiated game. Okay, I get that. Steven Nelson did have pass interference calls. I get that. There was offsides. I get all that. We was getting called for the holdings. I get that. They were fair calls. They were fair. I'm not saying the entire calls on us were unfair. There was a couple of crappy ones that Andy Reid had to overturn because they clearly were not committed. What I'm saying is 79 jumping all night before the ball was snapped. Never called. 79 holding. When they scored, he committed 2 fouls on the same play and scored. Neither one was called. You say that Sam Darnold was getting held all night? Yeah, they flagged us for it. I know he was getting held all night. They flagged us for it. They flagged the dog shit out of us for holding Arnold. All night they flagged us. And in the second half, it was kind of a mellowed out game. Either Kansas City straightened up or they started cutting it a little bit down the middle. The Rams got called for a couple things, which was nice to see. But 79 jumping, that was like every other play, dude. That wasn't like a one-hit wonder thing. That was like every other play. I can't remember. I I think he got flagged like 1 or 2 times for holding D Ford, but they weren't scoring plays. I mean, sure, it mattered in a way, but then again, they didn't score on that play, so they still got their 7 points out of it. It was the same way that night in Oakland last year. Shit, man, it got so bad to a point, like at the end of the game, they were just going to flag us until Oakland got in the end zone. I mean, it was clearly obvious. They called Ron Parker for a hold on one of those downs at the end of the game because the time had ran out. He didn't even touch anyone. He didn't touch anyone. The closest guy that would have been a holding is Steven Nelson. But it was an uncatchable ball anyways. There's no I mean, so that's why they didn't call the PI. They called the defensive holding because that's all they could call on an uncatchable ball. But even then, he didn't have a hold of a jersey or anything. He jammed him at the line. Which, by the way, for those of you that don't know football rules, which I'm sure half of you don't, that's sitting there griping and complaining in the comments, which, by the way, if I could shut them off, I would, because it's just stupid and I don't need to hear it. But yeah, the comments, they just get deleted unless you want to have like a reasonable conversation. Like I don't need to hear all kinds of dumb shit. I really don't. But the second pass interference call, it came when it was another ball that was thrown. It wasn't uncatchable, but it was an incomplete pass. And Steven Nelson jammed him at the line, let him go. He ran his route. The pass was overthrown, period. No, they called a guy on the other side of the field for pass interference who once again was in a zone that didn't even jam anybody and didn't even touch anybody. It's in the highlights. It's on YouTube. It's the NFL highlights, week whatever, Kansas City versus Oakland. They won 31-30 on the last play of the freaking game because they called 3 pass interference calls. What was it? Defensive holding once or twice and pass interference once or twice. I can't remember exactly how it went, but that one I listened to on the radio. The Rams game, I watched that with my own 2 eyes. So I seen what happened there. Oakland, I couldn't really see what happened, but I went and watched the highlights later, and but whatever, whatever. Like I said, a loss is a loss. I don't really care. That's in the past. The Rams game really didn't mean anything to us. It was a non-conference game. It's not like the Rams are going to get very far in the playoffs with the Saints being there anyways. So, it is what it is. But, like I said, don't fill the comments up with a bunch of shit because I'm never going to answer it and I'm probably just going to delete it. Because I don't have time for that. Which, by the way, I can tell by how some of you talk, you didn't even watch the damn game. You probably just went off of what people said or what the stats said or whatever, which is pretty common anymore. Anyways, that's that. Going to Oakland, yeah, Kansas City should definitely win that one. I think the Raiders will get demolished both times, but that's just my opinion. They don't really have much. They tend to give up in the second half. Division games can go either way, but I think we'll win at Oakland. Jets at Titans. God, I'll pick the Titans because they're at home. Oh, man. Seahawks, 49ers. I got the Seahawks. Vikings at Patriots. I'm going with the Patriots because that's at Foxborough. Chargers at Steelers. I got the Steelers. They're playing at home. Chargers, meh. I mean, they play hot against really bad teams, and then they play really bad against good teams. A team like the Steelers that are going to force turnovers, yeah, it's not going to be good on Phillip Rivers because he shit piles. Once he makes 1 turnover, he turns it into 5. And even the Cardinals could force him to turn the ball over. Redskins at Eagles, hell, who knows? I'm taking the Eagles because they're playing at home, and the Redskins got a backup, Colt McCoy, so I'm going with that. So, again, before I leave, let me reiterate. I call it as I see it. The game in New England, when we went to New England, we got beat that game. That was a straight-up football game. We got penalized like we always do. We got penalized, but they called it both ways. When the Patriots made a mistake, they penalized them for it. They didn't just let them go. We just got beat by a good football team. I have no problem admitting that we got beat by a good football team. But, yeah, it gets irritating when you sit there and you watch a football game and you're like, wow, both of these teams are really good, and it's a really magnificent game. But holy shit, are they going to call anything that a blind man could see? I mean, Stevie Wonder could have watched that football game and realized, oh shit, that's a false start. That's a false start. That's a false start. Well, that's another one. I mean, I don't recall one time, maybe one or two, that the guy, got called for a false start, and he was clearly jumping early every single play to try to block Dee Ford. So that's that. That's all I'm going to say. I'm calling it like I see it. It just wasn't even. It was more even in the second half than it was the first half. That's true. I am not sitting here saying that Kansas City got unfairly penalized. I'm saying that the Rams unfairly did not get penalized. A lot of the shit that everybody's seen on national television were calling out, going, hey, that's a penalty. Even Rams fans were doing that. Even Rams. There was a big freaking note of a Rams fan that talked about how it was the best game he ever watched, but the penalties were so lopsided because they hardly called anything on them. Oh, and even he could see what was going on. That's all I'm saying on it. That's all I'm saying on it. So, again, don't fill my comments with stupid shit. I'm not going to read it. I'm probably just going to delete it. But if you want to have a reasonable conversation, a reasonable debate, put a comment down there. I'll talk to you. I'm not going to call you an asshole. I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to treat you unfairly unless you treat me that way. But if you treat me that way, I'm just going to delete your comment and call it good. I don't have time to fight with people. But a reasonable, good football talk, I got time for that. Always got time for that. I'm not going to go out and insult you over a football game I can't control or you can't control. It is what it is. Everybody's a fan of some team. So, as an ending statement, again, I am not saying that Kansas City got unfairly penalized. We rack up penalties like that every single game. Most of those penalties were good. They were good calls. What I'm narking on is the fact that you can blatantly see the Rams committing penalties the entire first half. Maybe not so much the second half, but the entire first half. On scoring plays, on long plays, there was definitely penalties there, and they didn't call hardly any of them. I don't recall the Rams getting a penalty until, I think it was late first half, early second half, something like that. But anyways, that's all I got for this one. Good luck to everybody's team in Week 13. I'll see you on the recap.